Welcome to the first episode of Leatherneck Insider. I'm your host, Brendan Reedy, and alongside me is Serena Montignani. We got lots to talk about today, especially with everything going on in the world.
Obviously, the sports world has not been the same with the COVID-19 pandemic, but Brendan, there is a light at the end of the tunnel with Leatherneck football.
Yes, obviously, Western Illinois announced their 2021 spring schedule. Very anticipated for Missouri Valley fans across the country. And with more on the story, we're going to send it down to Johnny Jazarowski with more.
Can you imagine watching a football game at Hanson Field with snow on the ground in March? There's a chance it might happen as the Western Illinois football team turns their attention to the upcoming spring season. Western will play an 8-game Missouri Valley Football Conference schedule as they look to rebound from a 1-win season a year ago. WIU kicks off the 2021 campaign on February 19th in a road matchup against South Dakota. The Leathernecks home opener at Hanson Field is scheduled for March 13th against Northern Iowa. Western also has home matchups against North Dakota, Youngstown State, and Indiana State in the season finale. One notable conference foe missing from the schedule, North Dakota State, as WIU avoids the 3-time defending FCS champions. Western Illinois football head coach Jared Elliott shares his thoughts on the spring campaign.
I think you could have released a schedule of, all high school teams, and our guys would be fired up. They just want to get back to playing football, right? And I think that's where, now that that the schedule's been solidified and we know who we're playing, it just gives you that much more of that. Okay, it's real now, and we're putting in a lot of work right now. The things that we are enduring, it becomes that much more worth it because it's tangible now. Man, there's the season. We have dates that are on the books. We know who we're playing, and that's exciting. I'm fired up about playing a Missouri Valley only schedule, and I expect it to be like it always is. Close battles, physical games, and it's going to be up for grabs. And so our guys understand that, and so that's what we're preparing for now.
We will hear more from Coach Elliott later in the show. Reporting for Leatherneck Insider, I'm Johnny Jazarowski. Brendan and Serena, let's send it back to you.
Thank you, Johnny. In high school sports, everybody is on edge for the uncertainty of the upcoming fall season, but we were able to send News 3 reporter Dylan Smith for more on the story.
With COVID-19 pushing back the start date for several fall high school sports to the spring, the void of Friday night lights and meetings at the net remain empty for the time being. With still several months before fall sports get their crack at a spring season, the IHSA has given teams a fall contact period, a time in which teams can practice and prepare for the upcoming season. This past spring, high school sports were non-existent, and much of the same can be said for this fall. However, a delayed season is much better than no season.
Well, it's disappointing that the seasons are on hold, but it's heartening that they have a season planned. The kids in the spring lost their entire season. Our junior high volleyball, junior high wrestling, they had their seasons cut short right before the state tournament. So at least there's a plan right now to get these kids back, on the court, in the gyms, on the field. So, that's the best that we can hope.
In the spring, the biggest challenge was taking away the season from the senior class. But with student athletes' health being the top priority of state officials, strict guidelines and fluidity of instruction remain the largest struggle this season.
The fluidity of the protocol and the restrictions that were being placed under. I understand what the IHSA is doing. They're looking out for the kids. It's just difficult that we change things and get different messages from the IHSA, the Illinois Department of Public Health, and the governor's office.
The current contact period began on September 7th and lasts until October 31st. Teams can use a maximum of 20 days to collectively get in shape. Good for not only the players, but the coaches too.
Yeah, really it's just about coaching. That's really the biggest difference is, prior to the contact days, I really didn't have any contact with the players at all. And so these give us an opportunity to actually coach things. And so we try to structure it so at the very beginning, they're getting some kind of instruction. We've been doing a lot of shooting these last couple of weeks, and then we transition into some small-sided games into like 5v5 with goalies and things like that, and just to get them to touches on the ball. During the summer, normally,
but COVID-19 protocol makes getting in shape that more difficult.
The biggest struggle, to be honest, is the masks. We understand that and we think that there's a great reason why we're wearing them, and we are all about wearing them in these situations to help make sure that everybody's safe. But it's just really difficult to wear them while you're exercising because it just takes so much more energy to run and to do all the things that we're asking the students to do, the players to do with the masks on. And so we're taking more frequent breaks But
If
that
all
is a
goes
kind of
according to plan and virus numbers in high school athletics don't materialize, fall sports will be a go in the spring. But for now, student athletes are back to the grind of preparing for a much anticipated season. In Macomb, reporting for News 3, I'm Dylan Smith.
Thanks, Dylan. While Western Illinois may not be playing soccer this fall, one of their former players has a very special opportunity. After a stellar career on the pitch for WIU women's soccer team, former Leatherneck Inez Palermo Herrera is heading to Switzerland to play professionally. Palermo Herrera recently signed a contract with FF Lugano 1976 of the Swiss Women's Super League, the top women's league in Switzerland. A 2020 graduate, Palermo Herrera rewrote the record books in her 4 years on campus. The Spain native finished third all-time in saves, fifth in wins and shutouts, and eighth in saves per game. She also earned Summer League Player of the Week and Defensive Player of the Week honors during her career.
Very cool for Inez. But up next, we get an inside look with Leatherneck football coach Jared Elliott. We'll be right back after this.
Western Illinois University. Our beginnings in 1902 focused on providing affordable teacher education training. We've changed with the times and excelled through the years. Today, Western is positioned for the next 100 years and beyond. Affordability of diverse academic programs, outstanding learning opportunities, and hands-on experiences provide excellent job placement for our graduates. This is Western, forever Western.
Welcome back to Leatherneck Insider. David Coyer had a chance to sit down with Western Illinois head football coach Jared Elliott this week. Let's go to the Zoom call to see what Coach has to say.
Back in the spring, you're sitting at home, probably thinking about, hey, when everyone gets back from spring break, we're going to get right back into lifting, working out, practice starting soon. And then you hear everything's getting shut down because of COVID-19. What were your initial thoughts and reactions?
It's another obstacle. It's another hurdle or bump in the road, so to speak. And it's been a very unique year. The challenges and the process, David, of getting a team prepared and ready it's a lot. There's a lot that goes into that. There's a lot of hours. There's a lot of manpower. It's a major commitment. And then when you add, obviously the pandemic and what we're dealing with globally and what we're dealing with on a day-to-day basis and what these athletes have to go through and all the measures and protocols that we have in place, it adds another layer and an element to it of difficulty. And I think it adds another layer of just a commitment and want to make sure that not only do we have to prepare to defeat opponents on a field, but we got to defeat COVID-19, and that adds a lot. And I will say I'm really proud of our players, our team. I think that our guys have handled it in an extremely mature way. They understand what's at stake. They understand that we're really in a bubble. We almost think of our program as a bubble, and we've got to protect our bubble as a football program, and not only our program, but individually, and that requires a lot of sacrifice, and especially for a college student to do that. And so you got to shrink the people that you're hanging out with and what you do and where you go, and it makes you think about a lot more that you haven't had to think about in the past. And so there's been a lot of challenges, obviously. We lost some critical and very valuable time in the off season where your players are able to develop physically in the weight room. But again, it's good now to have our kids all back. They're all back on campus. Back in the spring, they were all scattered around the country, and that's what keeps you up at night as a coach.
Staying kind of in I can imagine spring and summer is big recruitment time for you and the team. How did you have to make changes to your usual recruiting process, both in the spring and summer?
Well, really where it's impacted us the most is just, we haven't been able to see a lot of these kids in person. And, we're not able to go out on the road. And, that's probably been the biggest, difficulty in terms of recruiting is, when you're not able to look a young man in the eye or get to know the parents or a family or see them at a camp or at their high school and get to know their coaches, that makes it tougher. Now, thank God for the technology that we have today, and FaceTimes and all of those things. We're still able to recruit. We haven't come to a dead stop, but it has made the process more difficult. And at the end of the day, I think the biggest thing is just the question of not being able to physically, tangibly being able to see them in person. That's probably the biggest wrinkle. We are extended in a dead period right now until January, and David, it could be even extended beyond that. And so this is just kind of the new normal, and you kind of, as you're in it, you kind of adjust and adapt to the situation and the cards that are dealt right now. And we still have to find a way to recruit. We got to find a way to identify the players that we need to, that fit our program, the type of young men we want. And so you got to get creative using the tools that we do have, and what can we legally do. And so again, we're using all the video technology out there to get an idea for what kids look like, what's their frame like, what's their growth potential like. Obviously critically watching their high school tapes, their huddle films, all those things. And you're trying to piece it all together the best you can, and realize it might not be perfect right now, but it is what it is.
So you make it through the summer. COVID seems like it's slowing down a little bit. And then the Missouri Valley makes their announcement that the season's not going to happen in the fall, and they end up postponing it to the spring. What was not only your reaction, but then just the team as a whole's reaction when that announcement was made?
There was obviously a lot of disappointment, David. You got a bunch of guys that, they train year round, and they do. I talked about commitment earlier, and guys that make a lot of sacrifices to play this game and to play it at a high level, and it means a lot to them. And they love the game of football, and they're competitors. And so I know that there was a lot of disappointment, not only amongst the staff, and we wanted to coach football and develop our team, get them ready to play, but obviously amongst our players as well. I think what we were dealing with there in the summer and leading up to when the Missouri Valley Conference made their decision, there was just still so many questions that were unanswered. And I think that begins to weigh on you just as much as everything else, just the uncertainty. How are we going to do this? How are we going to meet the testing mandates? And there's the financial components, the travel components. There's so many things that go into it, and then ultimately the number one is the health and safety of our players and our staff and everyone that touches our program. And so I think our kids were all understood. They really did. That what we're dealing with here is something, again, there's no playbook for, and people are trying to make the best decision to protect, all of these students and our student athletes. And but obviously the understanding of it doesn't take away the disappointment, and so guys were disappointed. But here's the deal: at the end of the day, the way that we're looking, we're trying to stay very optimistic, very positive. It's a great opportunity where we had guys that, we had a lot of guys, David, and they were back in the spring, back at home. They had no access to a weight room or weights or whatever it might be. So, in a sense, there's a lot of teams playing catch up right now. It's an opportunity for us to get the team back, get them back in shape, back in the weight room. We're taking advantage of our fall ball practices, because we lost our spring practices. So there's a lot of work to do, and it's a positive. We got time to gel this team together for our spring season.
Last question, is there anything that you've done this fall with your family or otherwise that you really haven't been able to in the past couple of years due to, coaching on Saturdays?
This is a hard profession, just in terms of the schedule, the hours that you put in, the time demands. And I think that anyone that gets into the coaching profession understands it's really an all-in family occupation, and your family understands that. And so I think that one of the biggest takeaways for a lot of coaches during this time is almost rediscovering that balance and the perspective. I've got 4 young kids, David, and I've spent more time with my kids over the last 4 or 5 months than I've ever been able to. And so you are, from A to Z, you're able to do so many things that I maybe have never been able to do before, and that has been so rewarding. Moments that you never get back again, just those valuable moments of just being a dad, being a husband. And I know my coaching staff has been the same way. And so having that balance, again, as anxious as we all are to get back to normal, to get back to football, to get back to a season, the precious time with family, the balance that we've had, and just giving you that new perspective has been just been a treasure that we'll always hold on to. So So anyways, it's been a lot of fun, and just seeing our young kids grow. My son is our youngest, and I feel like I've just been involved more than I ever have been able to, and that's just been an extremely rewarding experience.
Thanks, David. Lots to look forward to for the upcoming spring season. Coming up next, we'll talk about NFL action from over the weekend. Don't go anywhere.
Taking me home, taking me home.
Here, I engineer the future.
Taking me home. Bring me back.
Here, I have countless opportunities.
Taking me home. Bring me back.
Here, I do research.
Right here at Western.
Welcome back to Leatherneck Insider. There was plenty of NFL action from over the weekend. Let's go take a look at some of the top games from Week 4. Bears and Buccaneers get set for a Thursday night matchup as Nick Foles takes an early shot to Allen Robinson, but is intercepted by Carlton Davis. Davis taking it down the sideline, finally pushed out of bounds. As Tom Brady tries to build off the turnover, finds Mike Evans on the slant route to put the Buccaneers up 10-0. Nick Foles and company trying to come back down 13-0 late in the first half. David Montgomery finds the back of the end zone to cut the deficit to 6. But Tom Brady trying to score right before the half in the 2-minute drill finds Keyshawn Vaughn, but it makes force a fumble by Kyle Fuller, and the Bears will take over inside the red zone. Foles finds Jimmy Graham on the one-handed reception to take the lead 14-13 going into the break. Fast forward in the late fourth quarter. Buccaneers take a field goal to take a 19-17 lead, but Nick Foles wasn't done yet. Finds David Montgomery on the wheel route to set up a game-winning kick from Cairo Santos to give the Bears a 2019 victory. Now we'll send it down to Dallas for an NFC showdown between the New York Giants and the Dallas Cowboys. Danny Dimes pitches it on the trick play to Evan Ingram, the tight end. He finds the end zone to put the Giants up 7-3. Dak Prescott trying to answer right back. Looking across the middle, overthrows his receiver and is intercepted by Kyle Frackwell. Frackwell has a couple of blockers. He takes it inside the red zone, rumbling and stumbling all the way into the end zone to get the pick 6. Giants take a 14-3 lead. Later in the game, Ezekiel Elliott finds the end zone quite a few times. His first time getting in the back makes it 17-10. But Daniel Jones is stripped, and Anthony James picks it up and takes it all the way back for a scoop and score, tying up the game with 5 minutes to go in the first half. Just before the first half ends, a little trickery, Cedric Wilson fires a pass to Dak Prescott, the quarterback, to take the lead 24-20 going into the halftime break. Now second half, to Andy Dalton in for the injured Dak Prescott, hands off to Ezekiel Elliott. He stumbles his way into the end zone to take a 31-26 lead. But Daniel Jones finds Devontae Freeman, the midseason acquisition, to tie up at 34 apiece. But here it is, the big play of the game. Andy Dalton launches a missile down the field to Michael Gallup to set up a game-winning kick from Greg Zuerlein to put the Cowboys up 37-34 with a victory. Now we'll go down to the Battle of Philadelphia. We got the Eagles and the Steelers. Carson Wentz hands off late in the first quarter to Miles Sanders, the second-year player. He has a couple of blockers and a burst of speed. Gets past his last defender. He'll take it all the way in the end zone to tie the game up at 7 with just under 10 seconds to play in the first. Now in the third quarter, Roethlisberger finds Chase Claypool, the rookie out of Notre Dame, for his first score of the game, his first of 4 scores. But Carson Wentz finds Nelson Aguilar over the middle, get them within 2 points, 29-31. Chase Elliott with a chance to take the lead. His field goal attempt is wide right. But the Steelers weren't done with just over 3 minutes to go. Roethlisberger finds Chase Claypool for his 4th touchdown of the day, ties a franchise record for receiving touchdowns by a rookie, and the Steelers would walk away victorious in 4-0 on the season, Serena.
Great games, Brendan. Let's talk about them a little bit.
Yeah, obviously some big games. The Bears are now 3-1, and more importantly, the Steelers are 4-0. But the big storyline is Dak Prescott going down.
Do you think Dak Prescott played his last game in the Cowboys uniform?
It's tough to tell. Obviously, he was playing under the franchise tag this year. Didn't opt to sign that long-term contract that Jerry Jones and the Cowboys offered him. But same as the rest of the NFL, no one really knows. A lot of uncertainty there, but I think he'll be back.
How about Andy Dalton? Do you think him coming in affected their chances at the playoffs?
I think he's an established veteran. I think he can get them to the playoffs. It's just a matter if they can win in the playoffs. He has an 0-5 record with Cincinnati as their star in the playoffs. So it'll be interesting to see how everything unravels in the NFC East this year.
Well, these games are important. Fantasy football is also pretty important. So let's take it to Carly Hull for her take on fantasy football.
Hi, I'm Carly Hall, and these are my boom and bust picks for Week 6 in fantasy football. Boom pick number 1 is Kansas City Chiefs quarterback Patrick Mahomes. In Week 5, Mahomes racked up 340 passing yards and 3 touchdowns against Oakland, and he has scored at least 20 fantasy points every week this season. Mahomes should have another big performance in Week 6 against Buffalo, who allows 280 passing yards per game. My other boom pick is Dallas Cowboys running back Ezekiel Elliott. Zeke is coming off a 2-touchdown performance against New York, and he has found the end zone in 4 of Dallas's 5 games this season. With quarterback Dak Prescott sidelined with an ankle injury, I expect Dallas to ride Elliott early and often in their matchup against Arizona. My busts for Week 6 both play in Tampa Bay. Tom Brady and Rob Gronkowski were a dynamic duo in New England, but haven't had the same type of success with the Buccaneers. Gronk only has 12 catches and has yet to score a touchdown. Brady's had 3 good performances and 2 duds, which makes weekly fantasy output unpredictable moving forward. Expect Brady and Gronk to struggle on Sunday at Lambeau Field against the undefeated Green Bay Packers. If your running backs are on a bye this week and you are looking for a sleeper pick, take a chance on Jacksonville Jaguars running back James Robinson. The Rockford, Illinois native has 6 touchdowns already this season, and he has a plus matchup against Detroit, who are allowing opposing teams to rush for over 170 yards per game. That's an inside look at my fantasy football booms and busts for Week 6.
Thanks, Carly, for your insight. Now on to NBA action. After the COVID outbreak, a 5-month hiatus, a move to the Orlando bubble, a champion has finally been crowned. Let's take a look at the Game 6 highlights from the Los Angeles Lakers Miami Heat matchup. LeBron James going for that elusive 4th ring. Early in the first quarter, LeBron throws down the hammer. But coming back, LeBron going off the glass, gets the bucket to fall. It's been all LeBron early as he gets another layup. Miami struggling early on to contain the king. This time, Alex Caruso off the feed gets the easy bucket to fall. This time, KCP from downtown splashes home the triple. Another one for KCP. He knocks down. He was lights out as Miami was down by 30 points at the end of the break, and the Heat just tried to come back, but it was too late. LeBron James taking over, and Los Angeles Lakers would win 106-93, capturing their 17th title, tied for the most in the NBA. Coming up next, we have Marvin's Sports Debate. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this. As broadcasters, it's important to keep our image up. And with the rise of social media, we thought it'd be a good idea to bring in a coach to show us the ropes.
308 likes. Okay, go to Dunkin' Donuts, they give me a pumpkin spice latte, I compare myself to a college girl. Humor is really important in your tweets. Got it?
Some people are picking it up quick. Others, not so much.
Okay, so here's what I got. I'd be kidding if I said that Sean McGuire didn't have a good game last week. And look, it's a picture of a cat.
That is so stupid. That's going to get you 2 likes. Your mom and your dad. And your dad doesn't even have Twitter. So 1 like. You know what? Get out!
Hello, and welcome back to Leatherneck Insider. Let's take a look at our new segment of the week called Marvin's Sports Debate. Here's his hot take of the week.
Is Tom Brady really the greatest quarterback of all time, or was it New England Patriots system? Since joining Tampa Bay, Brady has done some uncharacteristic things through 5 games this season. He has already thrown 3 interceptions which led to touchdowns. Just look, last week he forgot what down it was on a game-winning drive. He has 6 Super Bowl rings, but until he does it with another team, his legacy will be questioned. Bad news if you are a Dallas Cowboys fan. Dak Prescott suffered a gruesome ankle injury. It was so bad that he can be sidelined for the rest of the year. Dallas was able to squeak out a 3-point win against the Giants, but how long can they do it without Dak? Is Russell Wilson a front runner to win MVP this year? He has led Seattle to a 5-0 record while 19 touchdowns and 3 interceptions, and his latest heroics came on Sunday with a game-winning drive against Minnesota. For someone who has never received an MVP vote, this might be the year. In baseball, just because you spend the money doesn't mean you are going to win. The Yankees have the highest payroll and made the big roll to sign Garrett Cole to a 9-year, $324 million contract. But the Yankees were eliminated by the Tampa Bay Rays, who are 27th in payrolls. Does money actually win you a World Series? And finally, with LeBron James winning his 4th title Sunday, has he finally passed Michael Jordan as the greatest player of all time? LeBron is the first person to win final MVPs with 3 different teams. He has the most playoff wins. After 17 seasons, he has yet to show any parts of slowing down. If he continues this, it will be no question that he will be the GOAT of GOATs. I'm Marvin Ransom, and this is my rants.
Thanks, Marvin. That's all the time we have for today's episode of Leatherneck Insider. Be sure to tune in next week for another edition. For Serena Montagnani, I'm Brent Riddy. Thanks for joining us.